Okay, so today we're going to be breaking down different types of questions that you may get in your GCSE English literature paper regarding the Shakespeare section. So today we're going to be looking at three different types of questions, not the questions in themselves, but rather the way the question is worded and as a result the way you should structure your question. So to begin with, we've got a question from a past paper which shows an extract. All of the questions on Macbeth or the Shakespeare plays will be in an extract format. Read the following extract from Act 1, Scene 2 of Macbeth, and then answer the question that follows. At this point in the play, the captain tells Duncan about Macbeth's part in the recent battle. Here's the extract. Again, today we're just going to be focusing on the structure and wording of the question as opposed to the content of the extract and the main body of the essay, so we won't be going into that. The question is, starting with this speech, explore how far Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a violent character. Write about how Shakespeare presents Macbeth in this extract and how Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a violent character in the play as a whole. So right from the very beginning of the question, we're going to be focusing on what does the question tell us to begin with. So the most important part of this to begin is what the extract is itself, not what the contents of the extract are, but where the extract is taking place from within reference to the rest of the play. So from what we can see, it is in Act 1, Scene 2. This means that it is at the beginning of the play. Now, this is important because we want to show how Shakespeare explores Macbeth as a violent character and his experience in progressing as a violent character. So here we've got an extract from the very beginning of the play. So what you would do then in your main body, you would make sure to refer to the extract as beginning, and you'd make sure to include quotes and outside knowledge from rest of the play. So the rest of the play, how he ends as a violent character, and the key points which turn him into one in the middle of the play. Equally, what is also shown is about Macbeth. It's very clear to us in the essay it is about Macbeth, and what is fundamental and a very silly mistake for everyone to make. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure we were all guilty of it. Where we talk and ramble on about other characters. This is about Macbeth. It may be tempting to refer to other characters such as Lady Macbeth or King Duncan himself, but it is about Macbeth, and any answers which you provide on other characters and how they progress as a violent character is not relevant. And the last key thing that the question tells us is that it is about violence and about Macbeth's character. There are key things to note. It's not the theme of violence, but rather about the character of Macbeth. So we want to explore how Macbeth performs violent actions. We want to explore how Macbeth progresses as a violent character, rather than the semantic fields and the lexical fields of violence as a whole. So the way in which we would structure this essay is you would begin with an introduction. You'd set out how Macbeth progresses as a violent character um, throughout the play, starting with Macbeth's initial presentation of a violent character in the extract. You always start with the extract. Even if, well, in this case it's at the start of the play, some of the questions we'll be looking at later on will not be at the start of the play. However, you always start with the extract. Then you'll go into, in this case, how Macbeth progresses. So you'd end up going with the middle portion of the play. You'd explain how, yeah, you'd start out by setting out how he is presented in the extract and how you will show how he progresses onwards. And then you'll conclude with your introduction with your core argument. Conclude with your argument. In this case, it could be Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a violent character, growing in violence as a consequence of his growing ambition and his growing desire for power. Alternatively, you could argue how he is driven to become a violent character as a consequence of the role of the witches. It doesn't matter what you argue as long as you argue it well, succinctly, concisely, and effectively. The main body, as I said, you would start with the extract no matter what, and then, in this case, you would move throughout the play in reference to your key argument. So perhaps if you are arguing about it being the witches, you would refer to particular scenes later on in the play in which the witches play a role in influencing Macbeth. Instead, if you're arguing about ambition, you would go and refer to scenes which have a key tie to the theme of ambition and the violent character, potentially being the last act, the last scenes where he's being slain by Macduff. And ultimately, how you will conclude is you will conclude with your general overview, your general argument on how Shakespeare presents Macbeth as a violent character in this extract and throughout the rest of the play. It's a pretty simple, basic, effective question. It allows you to explore a variety of different arguments. It allows you to explore a variety of different topics, and it can bring out the best in you. In contrast, a more difficult question is perhaps this. So this is about Lady Macbeth. Read the following extract from Act 5, Scene 1. Immediately, what we can see is this extract is from the end of the play, rather than from the beginning, like the previous one. It is about how Lady Macbeth is a female character who changes during the play. A very broad quotation, which you may be able to get. Starting with this moment in the play, explore how far you agree with this view. Now, immediately, this is about you need to refer to the quotation and use it as a basis for your argument, whether that be arguing for the quotation or arguing against. That is up to you how you argue, but make sure it is well argued. No matter what, there is no right answer whether you're for or against, as long as it is well argued and you can draw on reference to the question, to the extract, and then throughout the rest of the play. For an introduction would be quite similar. You would refer to your overall argument, about how Shakespeare, about whether Lady Macbeth changes or not. You will then refer to what you'll be referencing. So in the extract, refer to the extract and the other parts of the play you refer to. The main body and conclusion will be very similar to how we previously discussed, it being about, well, in this case, referring to the extract at the beginning. Again, always refer to the extract at the beginning. Even in a case where it is from a further act, it's still important to refer to the extract at the beginning and then use the rest of the essay, preferably 2 more additional paragraphs, in reference to the rest of the play. Again, it would be including quotes outside knowledge from the rest of the play, and it would be showcasing what is important in order for you to get your point. You don't need to have a broad overview. No need for a broad overview of the play. It's important just to focus on your argument, not anything else. So in this case, if you agree that she doesn't change during the play, you would focus on particular scenes where she seems to echo what she said in this last act, with scenes from when she was in Act 2 or Act 3. If you want something different, you'd see how she is now and you'd focus on different scenes, potentially which show different things. It's important to just focus on your argument because that is the key. Again, you'll conclude in a similar manner as before with your argument on how Shakespeare presents Lady Macbeth as a female character who does or does not change depending on your argument. It is quite succinct. And clearly here we have seen how different styles of questions result in different approaches to your essays. You'll have to change what your argument is depending on what type of question you get, whether it's more stylistic, as this one is, where you're exploring how far you agree, or whether it's more about how Shakespeare presents something on the basis and you need to explore the duration and progression of the character throughout the entire play. It's always important to focus on the extract as the start of your essay and to build on the rest of the play in the following paragraphs. And ultimately, if you follow these steps, you'll be able to make sure you'll be well prepared for any essay that comes your way. Thank you.